Hello, everyone. My name is Juber Ayala, and I'm the archivist for the New Jersey Hispanic Research and Information Center at the Newark Public Library. Thank you for tuning in this week's NPL at Home program. Today, I'll be touring the La Tribuna newspaper and photograph collections available on our digital collections website, digital.npl.org. I'll provide some historical information on La Tribuna, introduce the digital collections website, and highlight some of the interesting articles and photographs in the collection. Before we get started, I wanted to encourage you all to fill out your census forms. Filling out the census is one small but very important thing everyone can do right now to help our city and our communities. If you haven't done so yet, please go to my2020census.gov and fill out the brief questionnaire. The information you provide affects funding for healthcare, transportation, your local schools, and many other needs. Remember, my2020census.gov. It is safe, secure, and confidential. La Tribuna was founded in 1962 by Carlos Bidot in Newark, New Jersey, at 79 Niagara Street. Bidot created the newspaper because he saw a need in the community to provide a Spanish-language newspaper to others of Hispanic origin and to other Cubans fleeing the Castro regime. La Tribuna, or the Forum in English, was the first Cuban newspaper edited in New Jersey. The newspaper was published on a bi-monthly basis. In 1988, Ruth Molinar purchased the newspaper and she became the owner and publisher. Molinar worked alongside Bidot for approximately a year after purchasing the newspaper to learn how to operate and publish a newspaper, since she did not have any formal training in the publishing industry. She has received numerous awards and recognition for her work as a newspaper publisher. In 2001, the corner of Ferry Street and Niagara Street in Newark's Ironbound section were renamed La Tribuna Plaza in recognition of the newspaper's 39th anniversary. Ruth Molinar's donation of materials from La Tribuna is a valuable addition to the HRIC's collection to help document the contributions of Latinos in New Jersey's history. Today's tour will just scratch the surface of the abundance of materials in our collections, and I encourage you all to browse these collections to find other materials as well. The newspapers were digitized from various formats, as you can see in these photos. The issues from the 1970s through the late 1980s were digitized for microfilm. The issues from the 1990s were bound in a book format, and the more recent issues were loose newspapers. These photographs show the different ways newspapers can be accessed by patrons. By digitizing these materials from different formats, the newspapers are now accessible online and are word searchable, regardless of their original format. Having these materials be word searchable greatly increases their accessibility, as one can conduct quick searches to see if there's any relevant information instead of visually scanning each page on the newspaper for relevant information. We are currently transitioning from our original digital collections platform on Content DM to Islandora, so please bear with us as we continue to make improvements to our digital collections platform. A few years ago, the library received a substantial grant from the Carnegie Corporation to digitize materials within our special collections departments relating to the African American Great Migration and the Latino immigrant-migrant experience in Newark. Since the newspaper was founded in Newark, these collections fit well with the theme. Here's the homepage to our digital repository, digital.npl.org. To begin looking for materials, you can conduct keyword searches here on the search bar. You can also browse by NPL collections here. And you can also search by format here on the left-hand side. You can see photographs, maps, oral histories. For La Tribuna, I'll go ahead and click on newspapers. Here's a list of all our newspapers in the digital repository. You can see newspaper collections from the New Jersey room and also the HRIC. I'll go ahead and click on La Tribuna. We have approximately 450 issues of La Tribuna within our collections. Unfortunately, we don't have every issue printed, but we do have a sizable amount. The newspaper is a great resource to find information on social and public events within the Latino communities of the state, as well as important members of the community. When you scroll down the page, you can see the issues that have been digitized. To facilitate this digital tour, I've already pre-selected a few materials to share with you today. La Tribuna had a column titled New Jersey y la Comunidad, where you can find news about the local community. Here you can use the zoom in and zoom out features so you can read this a little bit better. Here's some information about Bob Menendez and the Puerto Rican Parade and Festival held in Newark, New Jersey. For the baseball fans out there, I was able to find an article about the Newark Bears. The team held a Noche Latina event that featured merengue and salsa for the fans. You can also search for keywords within a newspaper at the top of the page, here in the search box. I searched for desfile puertorriqueño, and it highlights the word if it's present, as you can see here. Here's information about the 1991 Puerto Rican Parade of New Jersey. Towards the bottom, it mentioned that there's more photographs inside. And to scroll through the newspaper, you can use the arrows here on the bottom. And here are the photographs as promised. For this search, I typed in Parada Peruana. It is important to use synonyms when searching for materials, as such events might be referred to as a desfile in one article and a parada in another, or even a festival in another article. Using various search terms increases your chances of finding relevant information. Here are some recaps for the 1978 World Cup held in Argentina. Matches were viewable in Newark Symphony Hall. Community members who have donated their papers to the Puerto Rican Community Archives are also referenced in the newspaper. The organizers of the Puerto Rican Parade are being sworn in by Amilcar Velez Lopez. The director of the HRIC, Yesenia Lopez, conducted a virtual tour of his papers. And if you have some time, please check it out. And here we're back to the digital collections homepage. To reach the La Tribuna photograph collection, you can click here on Browse NPL Collections. Here you can find links to the collections of the New Jersey Room, as well as the Special Collections Department. You can click here on the New Jersey Hispanic Research and Information Center. And here's a list of collections that are available online. As you can see, here's a link for the newspaper collection, and below is the photograph collection. On this page, you can find all the photographs in the collection. You can also refine your search using the subject topics here on the left-hand side. So our first image is of Andean musicians. Here on the left-hand side, when you click on this icon, you can download the image. You can also use these features here to zoom in and zoom out. You can also rotate the image. And when you scroll down the page, you will find metadata, or information that describes the object. Here is a photograph of Blanquita Food Center, with two young men posing in front of it. The location of this food center is unknown. In this image, we have women holding up a banner for the Borinquen Softball League, which was founded in Jersey City in 1968. For photographs digitized from photo albums that had event ephemera labeling the photographs, we looked into the newspaper to try to identify the people in the photograph. We tried this method to describe La Tribuna anniversaries, as well as distinguished men and women events hosted by the newspaper. Here's an invitation to the La Tribuna Distinguished Women of 2003 event, which you saw in the previous photograph. And here are photographs and biographies of the honorees published by La Tribuna. We were able to use the newspaper to identify the honorees for this particular event. For example, we were able to identify Mirta Cairo and Olga Casillas-Snarsky for this event. The more information and context we have for a photograph collection, the easier they are to describe. So that wraps up our virtual tour for today. Thank you for viewing this week's NPL at Home program. I hope you're able to learn more about La Tribuna, an important newspaper for the Spanish-speaking communities. If you have any questions, please contact us at njhric@npl.org. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode. Also, be sure to watch our other virtual programming, such as Spanish story times, community story times, ASL classes, and much more. Take care, everyone.